So a brand image and knowing what it is right off the bat is very beneficial because once you figure that out, you know how you want to be perceived, then you're going to know exactly what your Instagram content should look like. You're going to know exactly what your music video should look like. Knowing your brand is going to really give you a foundation to say, does this communicate my brand or does it not? If it does communicate it, then you do that.
Right.
And if it doesn't communicate your brand, you don't do it. Simply yes or no.
Yeah, and having all of those pieces together builds a strong image, and the strong image is going to attract the right fan, the right potential fan. It's going to open up the door so that people can kind of see, do I like you or do I not want to follow you? So having your Instagram branded to your personality is going to allow those people that are reflecting the same personality to grab onto you and follow you throughout your journey.
Right, exactly. So it's like if somebody comes across your Instagram or whatever and they see that, you know, it kind of looks a certain way, they expect your music to also match that. And if your music doesn't match that, then, you know, they're going to be disappointed. So it kind of goes to the point where you can kind of like niche down. You don't have to be attractive to everybody, but if you're attracting to a small audience that, you know, really likes everything that you're doing, then that's great. You're going to be super successful there. And the way that you really hone in on that audience is by knowing your brand and putting that out there, because once they see it, then they're going to know, okay, this is for me.
Exactly.
And, you know, you're not attracting the wrong people.
Right, and there's a lot of artists that will come in and they'll say, well, I want to appeal to everybody.
Right.
But nowadays, and most of the time in the past, it's not appealing to everybody, it's appealing to a niche market. Whether that niche market is a large market or a small market, you're going to still attain these fans that are going to be the people that support your mission, your journey, and your career as a musician. So focusing your brand and having your brand image reflect even just the smallest thing that relates to somebody, which could be a group of 1,000 people, that could support you because they would buy your merchandise, they would buy your music, they would buy anything kind of you release to support you because you're a leader of the pack. You're kind of exposing this one piece of relatable information that they're all sharing, and you're leading that whole group, and that group's going to get behind you instead of focusing on having your brand image appeal to everybody and being happy and everything like that. If you're focused on and your music is about going through a breakup at the time, all the people that are going through a breakup can now grab onto you. So the people that are in a happy relationship might not appeal to your brand at that moment, but the people that can really grab onto your brand are going to support you way harder than just trying to be everybody's artist.
Right, and that kind of goes into the point of, you know, you don't always have to maintain the same brand. You know, as a musician, you're always growing. This album or this project might not be the same as your next project is because you're going through different stuff.
Right.
But, you know, I think that if you're transitioning or if you're doing something different, you should represent the brand that you're doing now. You know, like you're putting out an album, say you're putting out you're in a sad time, whatever, you're putting out a little sad project. That's how the branding should be. That's how it should feel leading up to that, during that, because you're trying to attract people that are going to be into that. But maybe next year, next project you drop is in a different mindset. You know what I mean? So then you kind of transition to that. And then once that project drops, you're fully in that brand. You know what I mean? And then afterwards, maybe the next project you drop is the same thing and you can maintain that. But a lot of people, I think, kind of get stuck on like, this is an end-all, be-all thing for me, right? And I don't think it has to be. It just has to, your brand has to change with you.
Right. And so something we always tell our artists when they come in here and they get branding done, or if they just want to have a brand evaluation or some guidance on how this brand can work, because it looks like a huge undertaking. And as it is a bit of work, it's not gigantic and it's not the end-all, be-all. As Nick said, it's your brand's always going to evolve as you're evolving. Our brand evolves as a company, and it changes every week, every day. And there's just always kind of something new adding to it, or something we're taking away, or just something that we've learned over the time that we want to change our brand a little bit because it doesn't reflect exactly our message anymore. And this is going to be the same for an artist. And for an artist, it's only going to change faster because you're creating, you're doing things that are inspired by emotion, and your emotion is constantly growing, constantly changing. You're always in different seasons of your life. So don't be afraid to change your brand up as you grow. But the point of your first brand, how to get that stuff together, the exercises is to find that one core value that really doesn't change, the one core value that really drives you and keeps your audience with you, because they all share that one core value, whether it be one or two or three, but they're so solid that even when your brand image changes, your actual brand isn't changing, because you are this message. And that message can also grow and expand or contract into a smaller message, but it's always going to be kind of feeding off of that core, because that's who you are. Your music is who you are, and you're going to start sharing that.
Yeah, okay, exactly. So what do you think are some of the ways that, when like an artist comes into the studio, maybe we could give some of the things that like we ask the artist in order to figure out what their niche is, what their branding is.
Yeah.
What kind of steps could somebody take to figure that out?
Right. So the first thing you want to take is, if you've created music already, is you want to stop, look at your music, and kind of see the overall feeling of your music. What are you saying? What's your message? So for sake of an easy kind of description, we'll compare happy and sad. So if your music's happy, then what kind of happy is it? Are you happy because you're in love? Are you happy because of prosperity? Are you happy because you're making money? Now you've broken that down into 3 separate categories to where you can get closer to your core values. So your songs are happy because you're making money. So now you can say, okay, I can appeal to the people that are entrepreneurs. I can appeal to the people that are hustling every day, appeal to the people that are pushing it to the next level in their careers, at their jobs, whatever. If it's happy because of love, now you can appeal to the people that are in relationships, the people that are looking for relationships in a positive light, the people that are looking for relationships maybe in a negative light, if that's the case. And that's where you would get deeper, and then you would go from there and basically break it down as a pyramid, and where you're getting closer and closer to that one core value, because that's what you really want to discover, and that's what we try to help our artists discover in these exercises is, where can we get that one message? Because once we have that major one message, you've gone through all of these separate pieces. As you go down this funnel, you're picking up things that you can start using. And as you get closer and closer to the bottom of that, you're finding the things that really you can start to use, that you can put into your website, you could put into your social media, you could put into your photos. They're going to translate through your videos. They're going to translate through your copy when you're writing stuff, when you're posting stuff on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anything, that this is your message, and now the people know it. And that's the major part of the exercise. The rest of it, as we get into imaging, because as most people associate brands with images and videos and stuff like that, the brand is really just, it's a feeling. It's an overall feeling that people see. It's a concept that you've created that people just can understand through those images and through the words that you say and through the way that you act when you're on camera. Like, that's your image, it's your personality, it's your personal brand. So that, when we get to the imaging part, we'll obviously go through some concepts. We'll look at people, because artists always want to be original, and you can still be original, but you always pull inspiration from some other place. So it's okay to be similar to somebody that you really admire and somebody's brand that you really admire. And if there's an aesthetic to that brand that you really just appeal to, you can use pieces of that.
Right.
And it's not that you're copying, it's your inspiration. And I stress that to artists, because you can do this without being a replica of them, because this is where you're pulling it on. The originality comes from mixing all of that inspiration together, and then you're coming up with your own brand. That's the originality part. But the rest of it, you're getting inspiration, so don't be afraid to look at other people's aesthetics on their Instagrams, or how they're laying out their pages, how they're taking pictures, because if that's how you feel is what you're resonating with, then that's something that you want to share to other people, so that those people resonate back to you, because that's obviously how you feel and how you want your brand to look. And those are the people that you would share relationships with, because you both share that common like for that type of look.
Sure. And I think it's important too, because those people are, whatever they're doing, is working for them, and it's attracting their audience. You take famous people because, they're obviously, it's working. You know what I mean? So if your stuff is kind of like Sam Smith style, or it's like Adele type of situation. You can look at those people and see, you know, like you said, what the images look like. They're very dramatic, you know what I mean? Like how their music is mixed, their whole thing. And you can take that, like you said, and pull from it and create your own brand and create your own image. Nothing really is completely original. We're all inspired by everything, you know, around us every single day. So definitely don't be afraid to look at other people's stuff and see what's working for them and kind of repurpose it for your own situation.
Perfect. So the major thing you want to do, taken from this video, is sit down and, as I said, go through the pieces of where do you start. Start with a very general feeling of your music or your image at this point. Maybe you haven't released any songs, but what are you writing? What are you producing? What is the feeling from those things? Start there and go down and just keep going down and down and down until you get to that place where you're like, this is my message. You'll feel it when it happens. And we've seen artists do it, and they're amazed by how far down they've gotten, and they've discovered so much about themselves, and they've it is a simple exercise, but you start to get more clarity, and you just start to feel better about what you're doing.
Right, because you get down to the real reason of like why you do what you do.
Right, because you might be thinking like, you're dressing this way, you're doing these things, but you're not really like, oh, well, what's my message? What am I trying to say to people? Once you get to that point, it's a clear road to developing the imaging, developing what you're going to say, and developing how you're going to connect with people when you see them. So it's really gonna help you along in that, and it's gonna also help your music grow, and it's gonna help your fan base grow, because you're gonna start speaking to people that actually want to speak back to you and want to follow you.
Right, and when you're attracting the right people, when you release your music, you know, you got 90% of the people are gonna love what you're doing, because you're basically like pre-selling them. You know what I mean? You're getting the right people involved. You're targeting the right audience. So it's not like, you know, you've been doing all this stuff and you've got, you know, a certain amount of followers and people interested in you, and then when you release your stuff, it's like a shock because it's not what they were expecting. You know, these people, if you got a brand, you're attracting the right people, so, you know, when you release your music, it's going to be well received,
right,
and you're not wasting your time doing all this stuff for nothing. There's a purpose behind what you're doing, and rather than just going out there and, you know, doing random things, take a few minutes to really think about what your image is, how you want to be represented, and then move off of that as like a calculated plan, you know, instead of just putting out random things that you think look good or whatever.
Exactly. So to take action right after this video, ask yourself those questions, start digging deep into yourself, and also start putting together your inspiration and for your imaging and videos and how you want people to perceive you. So grab your inspiration, try to find at minimum 3 to 4 artists that are doing it, even companies that are doing things, smaller brands that are doing things on Facebook, Instagram, all social media, maybe their website, and how they're speaking to people, and put those together, put them in just write down the links on a piece of paper, just put them, you can build a Pinterest board, you can just do anything that kind of puts all those resources together, and then you have something to build off for the next step.
Exactly. So what we want to do is do a free brand review. So what that is, it's on our website. We'll give you the link. It's dreammachinerec.com/mybrand, one word, mybrand. And you're going to put in your social media links and maybe your website links if you have it there. And we're going to go in there and check out, you know, what you've been doing, what your look is, what your tone is, what your voice is. And we're going to give you our opinions and what we think is working for you and what we think you may be able to improve on in order to kind of get you to that level where, you know, you've got this solidified and you can move on to the next step. So that's going to be dreammachinerec.com/mybrand. You can check that out today.